because it's going to be interesting now. Bay is coming back from Brink. All right, he's back there in the back. He eased into the topic already, and I think he's going to elaborate a little bit more on why China matters now. Enjoy, guys, and have a nice time. Clicker is on the right side. Mike, clicker on the side.
All good?
Enjoy.
What's going on, everybody? You guys doing all right? Okay, look, I am jet lagged. I came in from Hong Kong. They lost my bags. These are not my clothes. I'm tired. I need your energy. You got me? You gonna do this with me? Come on, I came from China, all the way from China. Let's do this. So, I want to go over a little bit about why I'm here today. I want to call out a couple of the partners that have been here to support us as we travel the world, Invest Hong Kong and Bird and Bird. They've been helping us go all over and connect people around the world to understand what we're doing in China. I'm going to start with my introduction and Brink and then dive right in. So my name is Bateman McLaughlin. I'm one of the co-founders and the COO of Brink. For my own customer development, just like we train all of our teams, raise the hands. Before today, who's ever heard of Brink? Before today? All right, more work to do. Back on the road, all good. So, I come from the Valley. I was there for 10 years. I've been in startups my entire life. So even at Apple, I built their small to medium business channel and their startup and VC channels. So all I've ever done is startups in the Valley. I moved to Asia after, I guess, a decade in the Valley, and I've been there for 3 years. And that's kind of the whole basis of this talk. I want you to understand what I've learned and what we've learned at Brink with over 101 years in mainland China, designing and developing and distributing products. So that's me personally. Now, what about Brink? We help design and build hardware businesses. We do that 3 different ways. We have our accelerator programs, where they're all over the world virtual, and some are in person, like in Hong Kong or Barcelona. We've already done 20 investments in the last 2.5 years. Our other side is our distribution and manufacturing in mainland China. So we've done another 20 or so teams do their manufacturing design in mainland China. Our internal joke is, we make China suck less. So on the other side, we have our final piece, which is how we connect with everyone around the world. We recently acquired a company called Enter China. There are 300 founders and growing. All of you are welcome to join. It's an online and offline community of people that are making physical products, because we know it's hard. And it's really challenging, because what if you don't fit that perfect moment and you need an accelerator today? Or what if you're not going to China to manufacture right now? You still have questions, right? So we realized we needed to find a way to connect with everyone online. So there's a WeChat group, a Facebook group, tons of great content, and then offline meetups around the world. So check that out, enterchina.co/Brink. Would love to have you guys join. I learn every day from that community. Okay, so I talked about me. Now it's time for you to talk. I'm gonna run into the audience if you guys don't participate, so get ready, let's do this. Raise your hands. Who has a hardware company right now? Who's founding a hardware business today? Anyone? Okay, guys, so everyone else is someone different than a founder. Let's figure this out. Okay, who is an investor? Raise your hands. Investors. Okay, a couple, down. Who supports that community, either design, developer, I don't know, anyone that helps hardware founders? Raise your hands. Okay, guys, you must be everybody else. Okay, let's try this. How about entrepreneurs or people that work at corporations? Oh, wow, there's a lot. Okay, paying the bills, I like it. What about media? Anyone from the media? Okay, what else? Shout it out. I want to know who's in the audience. Hello. What else do you guys do? Guys, I will literally sit next to you and ask you personally. What is it? What else are you guys working on? Who else is in the audience? Okay, so we're at an IoT conference, guys. Let's talk about this. Who wants to start a hardware company if you haven't started a hardware company, or work on a physical product? Wow, guys, what are we doing? Come on. Okay, so I'm just going to do a song and dance about China all day. Great. So the reason I'm asking is that I need to understand where your head's at. Why are you at this talk? Why are you at this conference? So let me do this instead. I'm going to talk about why China matters at a macro level, and then give you 3 stories to explain different ways that you can think about operating or working in the Eastern culture, okay? So I'm going to start with the obvious, why China matters. Everyone thinks China matters because it's a massive market. It's probably the first thing you think about. So many people, so many buyers. Of course, absolutely. I'm not going to refute that. That's a big part of it. We'll talk about that. But it's not the only reason. I want to talk about something that you probably haven't heard of that is absolutely critical. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. It could be software, hardware, any product, any service. There's something that's changing in the East. In particular, China is leading this revolution. Who here has ever heard of product market fit before? Mark Andreessen? Cool. All right, guys. All of you afterwards, I want one-on-ones. I want to know who you guys are. I can't understand this. So the reason I bring that up is product market fit has been around for about a decade. It's probably the most elegant theory of product design development that's ever been made. So if you haven't looked at it, look it up. Mark Andreessen's a genius. And it's the foundation of something we've been working on trying to figure out, which is an evolution on this idea of product market fit. We're calling it product culture fit. The reason I bring that up, raise your hands, who here's ever used or heard of WeChat before? Okay, interesting, down. Who here has used WeChat in China? Okay, less, down, last one. Who has a UnionPay bank account? Ooh, okay, so you're the only two that actually know what it's really like. So this is like Amazon Alexa. So we use Alexa in Hong Kong and China. It's great, turns on the lights, plays music, fantastic. Guess what? That's not the real deal. You have to be in mainland China with a UnionPay bank account to really figure out the power of WeChat. Just like when we order something, we say, hey, Alexa, order dog food. It completely fails, right? It doesn't work in China. So you get a piece of it, but not the whole picture. So all of you that didn't raise your hand about WeChat, I'm really impressed. There's actually a lot of people, and that's probably why this talk's the most important for you guys. There is something happening, and I'm telling you, having been in the Valley for 10 years, having traveled all around the world, and now moving to Asia 3 years ago, something is fundamentally changing. And all those corporate guys that raised your hand, even more important. Because if you don't think what's happening in China is important, you are sorely mistaken. If you are not paying attention to what's happening in China, you are going to have problems. I promise. I was that guy. I was in the Valley, doing the whole drunk on the Kool-Aid, like we're the smartest people in the world, the Valley, like we know everything, we're so smart, right? Not true. Go to China, my whole world got turned upside down. And it was valuable, it was important. I needed to learn that. And the reason I'm going at a high level, this meta level, like product culture fit that we're talking about, is we're seeing a fundamental change in how the competitive landscape operates. And it starts in China. So WeChat users, raise your hands. Does anyone actually know, thank you, does anyone actually know the penetration or the customer stat of WeChat? Any ideas? It's nearly universal, right? So Gartner said last fall, it was the highest customer stat everywhere on earth, like 85% plus, something unheard of. And I was really wondering, thinking, that's kind of crazy, because they don't have more users than Facebook. Facebook has way more users. Facebook, Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram, far more users. So it's not about just users, or monthly active users, or downloads, which that's really what product market fit and Mark Andreessen talks about. All of you know those things. Whenever you have an investor pitch or whatever else, you're thinking monthly active downloads, monthly active users or downloads. That's fine, but that's not where we're going. For any of you that haven't figured out WeChat, please Google this. This is a phenomenon. They have cracked culture in a product, and it's never been done before. And when I talk about religious levels of loyalty in this product, I want to walk you through your day this morning. I know how your day's gone already. You woke up, and it's now 1 o'clock. You have already used probably 30 to 40 separate applications. Use Google Maps, Uber, stocks, weather, email, Messenger, WhatsApp, Facebook, right? You've used so many different applications. So your life, my life as a Westerner, is app to app to app, app to app to app, app to app to app. That is not the future. This is the world's first super application. Listen to these two words, product culture fit, super applications. Gartner's on it, Forbes is on it, you're gonna start hearing this all the time. Google it after this talk, super apps. This is the future of how all of us are gonna live. And it's because we've seen it already happen in China. Messenger, remember this, remember when Facebook broke Messenger out and everyone got really pissed? Oh, I gotta download a whole nother app, I'm so irritated. We were all complaining that we had to have a separate app for Messenger. They saw this coming. They knew we were going to live inside of messaging platforms. What did Apple announce in iOS 11 2 days ago? Apps inside of iMessenger, right? Or iMessage. Apps in apps that are basically message platforms. Super applications are here, and it's going to change the entire competitive landscape, and we're all learning from China. Facebook is ripping off WeChat every single day. You can ask the team members, they're very open about it. Watch, now Apple's ripping off WeChat. If Facebook and Apple are copying China, that means you need to pay attention. Got it? I'm not trying to be too over the top, guys. Like, this is real. I'm not messing around. Like, oh man, it's kind of fun, you gotta learn it. I'm telling you, don't message me in 3 years or 4 years from now on Twitter and say, oh shit, I wish I really listened to you. Like, trust me, download WeChat, Google this, learn about this. You can live inside this application, and all of us Westerners are going to be following suit. We will live inside of Messenger for Facebook or inside of iMessage. Just like in China, no one leaves WeChat. They even, like, raise your hands. Who does not have their wallet today? Exactly. When's the last time you ever left your house without your wallet besides like going on a run? Doesn't happen. You don't need your wallet in China. You can even buy stuff like the 7-Eleven or the lady selling fruit on the side of the road with your phone. Everything's on your phone. iOS 11 even, new integration. Basically, in the iOS layer, you'll have QR scanning. First time ever in iOS 11, just because what they've seen the Chinese user do. Watch Apple. They use China in every example now. So let's zoom forward and tell some stories about you guys. Now, the challenge I'm going to have with you guys is almost none of you, so like 2 of you guys right there, you guys are actually building hardware companies. But I want to try to hope all the corporate people here, which is the majority of you guys, can use this as an example and understand what is the East doing that you can learn from. What are the strategies and tactics? Because I just told you, like, things are changing, you need to pay attention, but what do I do now, right? What's the point? You don't want to have no answers or resolution to that. So 3 strategies I'm going to walk you guys through, okay? The first I'm going to talk about is probably a company you've heard of. Well, actually, IoT, we'll see. So who's ever heard of Misfit before? Or Sonny Vu, the founder? Raise it, quick, put it down. Who's heard of Jawbone? Okay, more, down. Who's heard of Fitbit? Right, everybody, exactly. That's a perfect setup. So almost none of you said Misfit, maybe 4, and then it was probably like 8 or 9 or whatever, and then it was like 25, all said Fitbit. That's the actual landscape that Sonny, the founder of Misfit, was entering in 2011 when he launched his company on Indiegogo. Here's a guy, just like any of us could have been, launched and crushed it on crowdfunding. One of the biggest campaigns back in the day, early, right? So that landscape, though, was very challenging because Fitbit was 2 years ahead of him. Very far ahead. Had a big brand, bunch of VC dollars. And Jawbone was way further ahead, way further. They had been doing the Bluetooth earphones, you guys remember that, with the phones? And then they had the jam boxes and all that. They've been way ahead, way ahead. So he's entering a very saturated market and fighting people that are bigger, stronger, faster than him. Does that sound like any of your lives? That's our founders' lives every day, right? These guys are ahead. So what did he do? Now, one thing to know about Sonny is he's originally from Vietnam. So he's not the normal American, Western European, right? He's from Asia, so a little bit different, maybe not so scared. But he had 1 or 2 choices. You're fighting bigger, stronger, faster guys than you that are farther ahead, and he had to figure out a strategy to survive that. So he said, well, I either have to raise more capital and spend to out-market these guys, which you guys know Fitbit, they're dominant, right? The mind share alone is insane. Or he had to do something different. He had to look for open oceans, other spaces, white space that was somewhere else. This is a critical strategy, and it's going to underline everything I tell you today, is in this new world of product culture fit and super applications, you can't go head-to-head with these guys like we used to. You need to look for a different way to compete. You need to look for open space. And again, don't message me in 3 years and say, I'm sorry I didn't pay attention. Listen. What he did was very, very easy. He used distributors to go to other places. Who's ever used a distributor before? Perfect, you guys got it. So really basic for those who don't understand. Distributors are people that know what they're talking about in a local market. They have channels, distribution, salespeople, localization experts, da-da-da-da-da. They understand a market that you don't understand. Now, they take margin. Guess what? So do your Facebook ads. Margin's margin. It goes somewhere, right? You acquire them online, you spend a lot of money, or you give it to a distributor who does the advertising and the work for you on ground. So he didn't do what we thought and probably go to China first. He did something a little weird. He went to Russia. Anyone been to Russia? Anyone from Russia? Interesting. There you go. I've never been. But I was blown away thinking, like, why? Really? Russia? Like, he was in the United States. He's from Vietnam, but like, Russia. And a lot of us, it wouldn't seem obvious. But he had the opportunity to work with a distributor, ended up going into 700 points of sale. Now, that's pretty interesting, right? Now, at a lower margin, but it wasn't negative. He was making about 10% margin, which any founder knows that's terrible. However, he was learning at a profit. He was in a market where his competitors weren't, because they're all sitting in America fighting, outpaying each other to get better shelf space at Best Buy. Like, who gives a shit? He literally went to a market no one's paying attention to, and was shipping to 700 stores, learning about how to scale his operations, building a brand in a market where his competitors weren't, and he got a whole year leg up before Fitbit finally paid attention and jumped in. Not bad. Now, I understand, question, who's done localization before for their application or their product? No one? A little bit? So localization sounds hard, right? Translation, you gotta figure out the local culture. I'll tell you what he did. His distributor said, I'm not gonna do it. Like, well, I'm not gonna pay for it. So he had one of his team members in China write out the Russian. Didn't go so well. So every founder I know is sitting there thinking, like, if you're gonna localize, you're scared. I understand, investors are really like scared about this too. Don't be. He had a guy in China write the Russian, it was bullshit, and everyone was laughing, the media was covering it, and sales were skyrocketing. Because it was funny, it was great coverage. He ended up fixing it, right? Like, no big deal. But don't get stressed out about localization. Don't let that stop you from looking at other markets. No big deal, you can overcome it. So he went to Russia, then he made the big leap. He went to mainland. Now, similar plan, distributors. Don't be scared of distributors, they're your partners. He used 3 different distributors. This is the important part. This goes back to how big this opportunity is and why you need to find the white space. I'm gonna ask you guys, I'm gonna get you to participate, raise your hands. Top 5 Western markets versus top 5 Eastern markets in terms of population. So West, America, Mexico, the UK, France, Germany. The East, China, India, the Philippines, Indonesia, and Japan. How many more people are in the top 5 in the East versus top 5 in the West? 2x? 3x? 4x? There's 5 times as many humans in the top 5 Eastern markets than in the top 5 Western markets. Go back to the new world in competition with super apps and product culture fit. You cannot ignore the fact when there are 5 times as many shots on goal to acquire users. You can't afford to anymore. Now, I can hear, because this happens every time, someone's thinking, well, they're not addressable. You know, the people don't have enough money in China. Bullshit. In the next 3 years, from the lower class to the middle class will be the entire population of America in 3 years. They're going to bring on 300 million buyers that are going to get into the middle class in China in the next 3 years. You cannot avoid this, guys. So here, Sonny goes into mainland China, same thing. Localization, shipping products to China. In his first 12 months in mainland China, Chinese sales represented 65% of his global revenues. In 1 year. You cannot avoid this. As a company, we are all competing. Just like Facebook or WeChat or Apple, they have no desire to let your app take their users' eyeballs and energy and time, right? Why would they? They don't want you taking their users' time. So you need to find that space. And one of the ways you can do it is taking your Western ideas, all of your services, all of your products, all of you are smart and have very good ideas. You can take those and find a home for them somewhere in the East. It's not that scary. You can do it, and you need to look into it. West to the East, strategy number 1. Strategy number 2, let's talk about Qunar and Fritz Demopoulos. Who's ever heard of Qunar? I love it, it's the same. Anyone that has a WeChat, it's like, I've heard. So, okay, how about C-Trip? Anyone heard of C-Trip? Same person, come on guys. All right, how about Skyscanner? Oh, all the Europeans, hello. And then what about Americans, Kayak? There you go, perfect. So, we're talking about travel websites. So another raise of hands. Who here has ever worked, not studied, worked abroad? Okay, nice, this is positive. You guys, this is your strategy, listen up. So, Fritz Demopoulos went to college like most of us, university, and he worked for 2 years in America. He then went to Europe and worked for 2 years. Pretty basic, right? Not rocket science. But this is where it changes. And all of you that raise your hands that says you've worked abroad, you're primed for this strategy. He had an opportunity to go to Beijing for 2 years. Guess what, guys? Your home's not going anywhere. Nothing changes that fast. I've gone back to SF 3 times a year. I've been gone for 3.5 years. SF is the same fucking place as it was when I left. Trust me. You have that opportunity if in your corporate, all those corporation guys, raise your hands, you have the opportunity to go and work somewhere else. So he says, sure, why not? And one of his best pieces of advice is not to have a master plan. He didn't know any better. He wasn't thinking, I'm going to dominate the Chinese travel market. That wasn't his plan. He was, I think, I want to learn something. I want to go somewhere and experience something different. I want to be uncomfortable. So he did it. Now, something changed in China. A lot of you might remember When the government stopped controlling everything and letting foreign and domestic companies start competing for services and products, the borders started becoming more porous, you can actually create new services. So he actually tried something. He left his company. He knew some people now, knew the language a little bit, understood the culture a little bit, not that well. He actually tried a weird company. He was trying to do a media platform for sports. Didn't do very well. But he then, in 2005, put yourself in your head, 2005, think where you were in 2005. Got it? Would it have seemed obvious in 2005 that the world's largest population, China, might need a travel website? Right? Hindsight's 2020. However, this goes back to the scale. That travel website went from like zero, never even having had one, to being listed on the NASDAQ, and then this spring, it got bought off the NASDAQ by a PE fund for $4.4 billion US. Travel website. Now, for all the Europeans that raise your hands, for Skyscanner, Ctrip is the #2 competitor to Qunar in China. Guess what they did? Bought Skyscanner for $1.6 billion because they wanted to expand to keep up with what Qunar is doing. That's $6 billion in exits in one country for travel websites. Size. You can't avoid this. You have to think about this. So here, I really love this guy because he's probably the nicest. Fritz has got to be the nicest guy in the world. He is rare. I mean, he's a multi-millionaire, right? But he literally is just the kindest, nicest person. And he always tells founders, don't overthink this. Take your brilliant minds, your passion, your enthusiasm, go to a place where you're uncomfortable. For him, that was the East. He saw opportunity. Learn. What he saw was the ability to take his passion and excitement, go to a local culture that's not his, and learn and design services for that particular population. Now, coming from the Valley, I don't know how it is in Europe, I can tell you, we don't need another service like Uber for fucking beer. Like, literally use your brains for some shit that's worthwhile. Seriously. Like, it's unbelievable the crap we make in the technology industry, right? This guy just went to a population, and one of the first companies that I looked at when I moved to China was a company that was taking people that have cancer in China and connecting them to doctors from the US because they wanted second diagnostic reviews. This stuff's powerful. You can help people. You can really do something important, but you have to feel uncomfortable to move a little bit and try something new. So everyone that raised their hand, you are primed for that. You already worked abroad. You can do it. I highly recommend you go somewhere in an Eastern culture that makes you question what you think. All right, third story. So that's East for East, right? We did West, moving to East, and then we did move to East and build something for the East. Now the last one, I'm going to talk about Ben from Indiegogo. Who's heard of Ben Bateman, head of hardware, Indiegogo? Cool, used to be head of hardware, now head of global partnerships. Really important for everyone that raised their hand, for the government or entrepreneurs in the audience, this is my favorite story. Ben saw what was a disaster at the beginning of crowdfunding. Who here bought something and never got it on crowdfunding? Double hands, triple hands, exactly, feet in the air. So we all know the beginning of crowdfunding was not super smooth. However, nothing ever is, it's important. It's one of the most important, I think, personally in my opinion, is that it's the most important transition we've made to unlock funding for people, like versus having all the VCs and investors like us think we're the smartest people. I think it was an amazing, profound innovation, like really, really critical. And we work with both platforms very closely. But Ben was not one of the founders. But he was passionate about this. And he saw all those class action lawsuits, all the bad PR. I mean, it was a shit show in the early days. If you remember how bad it got, the backlash was serious. So what could you do? You could raise more money and start spending it on PR to make that shit go away. Like trying to market your way out of that problem. Stop letting people list hardware companies, which that didn't make sense because there's a massive demand for it. Or learn and fix it. But the founders weren't doing it. Founders are great people, but Ben raised his hand and he went to the founders and said, look, I don't know how to fix this, but let me go over for 3 weeks. Just send me over. And his idea was in like firefight mode, right? Like, I'm gonna go to factories and founders, I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna learn how to fix this. Now, he did go over there, meet with startups, meet with groups like us that know China a little bit better, go to factories. He learned a lot. Most importantly though, similar to Fritz, similar to me going one-way ticket, moving from the Valley to Asia, he learned something and saw something he could not have seen sitting in San Francisco. Has anyone heard of the platform to take Chinese innovation to the West that Indiegogo's built? No one's ever heard of that. He announced it at CES a year and a half ago. Get this. He literally saw all these innovators and said, wait a second, they have good ideas too. How do I help them address the Western market? Now, he built it, and in the first 6 months, it's become one of the fastest growing revenue streams for Indiegogo. Second point you need to know is something called CFC. Now, anyone know what CFC means? Environmentalist, chlorofluorocarbons? No? Not what I'm talking about. So, CFC is copying from China. Let me explain this to you very clearly. China is not copying our shit anymore. Period. And I see the Western guards, I get it every time I say that. Like, the Western people, all of us, we're not that fucking smart. These guys are creating amazing technologies. Do not kid yourself that they're copying us anymore. That's a 1990s mentality. And I'm going to give you a bonus story to reinforce it better. Who here has ever heard of Eric, the founder of Pebble? You guys ever heard of Pebble before? Cool. Eric shipped 2 million units. He had 8 separate product launches, raised almost $40 million, had a company for 8 years. Now, all of you that know that also might know it recently wound up. They sold what was left of Fitbit. Wasn't the exit they wanted. But this guy, Eric, is a good friend of mine. He knows more, or sorry, better, he's forgotten more about building hardware companies than anyone in this room is going to ever fucking know. That guy's forgotten more than we're going to know. Now, what did he do after he sold his company after 8 years? Any ideas? What did he do once he's now done, 8 years later, almost a decade? First thing he did, moved to China. Think about that. Someone who has forgotten more than most of us will ever know, he knew enough and went right back to Shenzhen and lived there to figure out how are they doing stuff so fast? What innovation can I learn and bring to the Western market? Think about that. It's important that people that even think that we look up to go, wow, we know these guys, they know so much, they're going to China, and they're spending more time there. Now, I'm going to recap that because we have 3 strategies. Sonny from Misfit, taking a product or a service that you have in the West, going to the East. It's not that hard, I promise you can do it. You're going to make mistakes, it's okay. But you have to address the 5x audience that's there. Then you can go move to an Eastern country and learn the culture. And actually build a product or service for that local audience. Or, on the other hand, you can go to the East, learn about something, and take the innovation out and bring it to the West. I had a founder I had dinner with that I met last night here, originally from Egypt, but lives in Berlin. He was taking technologies in autonomy, autonomous driving, and everything else in China, and repackaging it and selling them in the West. Raised $10 million in the Valley, is crushing it, just taking technology that's in China and bringing it to the West. That's a really great way to learn, right? A lot less risk. So, 3 strategies, and I'm going to tell you now my personal strategies. 3 things I've learned from 10 years in the Valley and 3 years in China now. 3 main points. First, you need to bet longer than you've ever bet before. I know this, and I'm going to project this on you guys, so if I'm wrong, sorry, but I see it every day. We are way too short-term oriented. All of us. VR, biggest damn hit. Boom, AI, machine learning, Uber of everything. These are small, short trends. I'm betting on what I think will be the largest trend while I'm alive, which is IoT. I really do believe that I need to be in a position not to be executing in 3 years from now, but in 30 years from now. The trends are getting harder to keep up with. You cannot compete in 1 and 2 year cycles anymore. You need to think longer. For me, I'm looking at the entire physical world. Every single object on this planet will be connected with a passive or active sensor. It will fundamentally change the entire way civilization runs. Everything. First, bet long. Number 2, move. Move from where you live to somewhere else. Question what you believe in. If you stay here, you are by definition forced into a local maximum of thinking. What's around you? Moving to the East and questioning, fundamentally flipping upside down what you think you believe, and what's right and wrong, and how business is meant to be done, is important to stay competitive. The third and last one is being flexible. There are so many people in this room, I know it for sure, that have these truisms that you all think are true. If you have not lived in Asia or dealt with the Chinese, you do not know what's true. You have your own belief of what is true. You need to be more flexible in how you do business deals, how you do financing, how you do partnerships, how you do JVs, how you exit your company, how you stay alive, and how you stay competitive. There's nowhere better to learn that than Asia. Hungrier than anywhere before. The original entrepreneurs. It is critical. I got my ass handed to me coming from the Valley thinking I was so smart. I cannot stress this enough. Make sure to bet long, move, and be more flexible. Now, if you guys want to chat more or learn more about this, I have a couple of quick slides because I want you guys to engage in any way you feel free. This is a tool that we just built and are giving away to the entire ecosystem for free. If you're a hardware founder or want to build a physical product, the thing that's going to mess you up first is going to be your cash flow. It won't be your software, I promise. So check it out, brink.io/cash, completely free. Please feel free to use it. Give us your feedback. We want to make it better for you guys. We also have applications open for our accelerator. Anyone that's actually building a physical product, just brink.io/apply. We'd love to have you guys apply. This is our service arm. Anyone that actually wants to work in China, please let us know. We don't want you to have happen what we've seen happen. You don't have to work with us. We don't really care. We just want you to do what you're doing and win, whatever that is for you. China's tough. We know that. We've been there for 101 years. Like, we know the insides and outs. But please ask us. We can help. Reach out. We'd love to help you out. This is the last one I'm going to leave you guys on. A lot of you guys are coming in towards the end. We recently acquired this company. If you're building a physical product or interested in building a physical product, this is the most active online community for hardware founders on earth. It is unbelievably valuable. I cannot recommend enough. I learn every single day from our community and this founders. It might be how to spot a fake, how to deal with patents, how to deal with import-export, how to find this engineer, how do we work in this particular country, what distributors do you know, what manufacturers are you using? All of those things, all day long, are being talked about in this group. So guys, if you want to reach out to me, I'm very, very happy to answer every single question. I'm very active. I'm happy to give you any answers I can online. Me online is Beta Bay. I don't know if it's up here. Oh, here it is. So please reach out to me. That's my Twitter handle. It's the best way to get a hold of me. I am 1,000% dedicated to helping anyone that's interested in building physical product businesses. I don't care if you're in our accelerator. I don't care if you're using our studio. I don't care if you're part of Enter China. I just want to help you guys. Please feel free to grab me afterwards. I'm just going to stand outside if you guys want to chat. And thank you guys so much. Come to China. Come see me, please. I'd love to see you guys. And have fun the rest of the day at RIOT. See ya.
Hi there again. I have two announcements actually. The first one is, this is sort of my last session. I'll be out and Ben will be taking over from now on. The second and much more important is that we're now diving into the Investors Roundtable, and I would love to ask Jenny Fielding from Techstars to the stage, who is our moderator today. And with her, I have a feeling there'll be around about 4 other people showing up here on stage. Yes, she's sort of stuck in the back. Don't worry, they're all here. It would be great if you could make room for the Investors Roundtable.
That normally brings the investors to $2 billion net.
Exactly. Like, yeah, cash at the end. Well, you do business.
We paid $1 billion for Viber, and our Facebook friends paid $19 billion. Don't earn a dime. And WeChat earns $2 billion a year in net cash out of WeChat.
So you work in the name China too?
I studied Chinese.
Oh, cool.
Oh gosh, shit, I can't say. 25 years ago.
Yes,
Yes, 25 years ago.
Well, thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it.
All the best.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.
There you go. Good. Dude, there was a fucking dude that stood up